Alan Garcia stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. The Deep Space Scout ship's instruments never lied, but what they showed seemed impossible. A massive fleet of vessels unlike anything in human records, positioned just beyond Pluto's orbit. "Control, this is Scout 7. Please verify these readings," Alan said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. After a moment of silence, Control responded. "Scout 7, readings confirmed. Return to base immediately. Protocol Omega is now in effect." Protocol Omega, the code for first contact with intelligent alien life. Alan had trained for this scenario dozens of times, but never expected to experience it firsthand. 3 days later, Earth's major cities displayed the same scene on massive public screens. Alien ships entering orbit. Their design was both beautiful and terrifying. Smooth curved hulls with pulsing lights and strange protrusions that seemed to defy human engineering principles. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session as the alien delegation requested landing permission. Secretary General Diane Powell sat at the center of the table, her face betraying no emotion as advisors whispered urgently around her. "They've agreed to a meeting," she announced. "One ship will land in the designated zone outside Geneva." The landing was broadcast worldwide. Billions watched as the sleek vessel descended from the clouds, touching down with barely a sound. A delegation of world leaders waited on the tarmac, military forces discreetly positioned nearby. When the ship's door opened, humanity got its first look at the aliens. The creature that emerged stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer. Its eyes, 3 of them, scanned the assembled humans. "I am Ambassador Kelthorin of the Galactic Hegemony," it said through a translation device. "We represent a coalition of 17 intelligent species that has maintained peace across 3 sectors for over 3,000 years. Secretary General Powell stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth and look forward to peaceful relations." The ambassador's middle eye narrowed. "Peace is available to you, but only on our terms. The hegemony absorbs all spacefaring races we encounter. This is not negotiable." A murmur ran through the human delegation. "Surely we can discuss mutual cooperation instead of absorption," Powell suggested. "There is nothing to discuss," Kelthorin replied. "Your species will submit to hegemony rule or face extinction. You have 7 Earth days to deliver your answer." The meeting ended abruptly, the alien delegation returning to their ship which ascended to rejoin the fleet in orbit. In the following days, Earth's governments debated frantically. Military leaders presented assessments of the alien fleet's capabilities based on scans. Scientists analyzed the limited data on hegemony technology. Diplomats argued for negotiation. On the 6th day, the Security Council reached its decision. Secretary General Powell faced the cameras. "We have considered the hegemony's ultimatum carefully. Earth rejects these terms. Humanity will not surrender its sovereignty." The response came swiftly. Ambassador Kelthorin's image appeared on communication channels worldwide. "Your primitive species fails to understand its position. The hegemony has conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours. Your weapons are ineffective against our shields. Your ships are slow and vulnerable. Submit now or be destroyed." Colonel Jack Reynolds, commander of Earth's orbital defense platform, was chosen to deliver humanity's final message. The weathered soldier stood straight in his uniform, gray eyes fixed on the camera. "Ambassador, we understand your position perfectly. The hegemony has never encountered humans before. That's the only reason you're making this mistake. We've studied your fleet. We've analyzed your technology. Let me be clear, we aren't asking you to leave. We're warning you to run." The transmission ended. Across Earth, military installations went to full alert. Hidden defense systems, kept secret for decades, powered up. And in the darkness beyond Mars, the human fleet, far larger than the hegemony had detected, began to move. The galactic hegemony had made a critical error. They thought they were starting a conquest. They were actually starting a war. The hegemony launched their first strike at dawn Earth time. They targeted the Mars colony, believing it would serve as an effective demonstration of power while avoiding immediate full-scale war. Status report. Admiral Samantha Wright demanded, standing in the center of Earth's Space Command headquarters, a massive underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Mars colony hit. Admiral, replied Lieutenant Frank Cooper from his station. Civilian casualties reported at Olympus City. Samantha's jaw tightened, and our defensive response. Operation Thunderbolt is ready, awaiting your command. The Admiral nodded grimly. Execute. Across the solar system, hidden platforms activated. For decades, Earth had been placing unmanned stealth stations throughout the asteroid belt and beyond. Each contained dozens of relativistic kinetic weapons, essentially metal rods accelerated to near light speed. Simple technology by comparison to the hegemony's energy weapons, but effectively invisible to their sensors. The first barrage hit the hegemony fleet with devastating effect. 23 alien vessels shattered before they realized they were under attack. They're regrouping, Frank reported, changing formation to defensive posture. On the main screen, the alien fleet spread out, energy shields flaring to life around each ship. Their return fire illuminated space with purple-white energy beams that struck toward the human positions. Minimal damage to our fleet, Frank announced. Their weapons are calibrated for their standard opponents. They don't penetrate our hulls effectively. This was the first revelation that would shake the hegemony. Human ships were built differently. While alien vessels rely primarily on energy shields, human engineers had developed layered physical armor combined with ablative coatings that dissipated energy attacks. Lieutenant Diaz, are you in position? Samantha asked over the secure channel. Maria Diaz and her team of 12 elite soldiers floated in the shadow of a hegemony communications relay. Their stealth suits masked not only their visual presence, but their heat signatures as well. Affirmative, Admiral. Ready to breach on your mark. Proceed. Maria signaled to her team. They moved with practiced precision, attaching themselves to the relay's hull and placing shake charges at key points. The explosions were silent in the vacuum of space, but created perfect entry points. Inside, the team encountered their first hegemony soldiers, tall, chitinous creatures with 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. The aliens fired immediately, but seemed surprised when their energy weapons only stunned the humans momentarily. They don't know about our neural shielding, Maria whispered to her team as they returned fire with conventional bullets that tore through the alien armor. Within 20 minutes, the communications hub was under human control. Specialist Ryan Baker began downloading the hegemony's tactical databases, while the rest of the team secured their position. Back at command, Admiral Wright received unexpected news. Admiral, we're getting a transmission from Arcturus, Frank said, confusion evident in his voice. They're human, Mom. The main screen activated to show a woman in an unfamiliar military uniform. This is General Susan Blake of the Arcturus Coalition. We monitored your conflict and are dispatching our fleet to assist. ETA 6 hours. Samantha smiled for the first time since the war began. The secret colony established decades ago as humanity's insurance policy was finally revealing itself. When Ambassador Kelthorin received reports of the battle, he struggled to understand. The humans had colonies beyond their solar system. They had weapons that could bypass hegemony shields. And most concerning of all, they seemed unafraid. The Hegemony War Council convened an emergency session. The species that had conquered 17 civilizations now faced an unexpected reality. The humans hadn't been bluffing. They really had been warning the hegemony to run. And now it was too late. The Hegemony War Council gathered on their flagship, the massive Eternal Dominion. General Zyrtak slammed his primary fist onto the holographic display, causing the image of destroyed hegemony ships to flicker. These humans are primitive, he insisted. Our initial approach was flawed, but our numerical advantage remains. We have conquered 17 species. One more will not stop us. The other council members chittered in agreement. Their species had evolved in a rigid hierarchy, and failure was seen as a temporary setback rather than a reason to change strategy. We will regroup and attack with our full strength, Zyrtec continued. The humans lack the resources to sustain a prolonged conflict. Meanwhile, Dr. Kevin Riley worked frantically in his lab aboard the Lunar Research Station. Around him, captured hegemony technology lay in various states of disassembly. His team had been working nonstop since the first alien ships were disabled. "Look at this," Kevin said, pointing to a component under his microscope. "Their quantum processors are similar to ours, but they've never miniaturized them. I think we can adapt their shield technology to our smaller ships." His colleague, Dr. Beth Martinez, nodded excitedly. "And their power generation relies on a controlled fusion reaction. We can make it 30% more efficient with our containment methods." This was humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt and improve. While the hegemony relied on technologies that had remained largely unchanged for centuries, humans constantly innovated. Navy Commander Lisa Foster implemented a new battle strategy from her command ship, the Defiance. "Break into 5 ship formations," she ordered. "Random movement patterns. Don't stay in one place long enough for them to target you." The human fleet scattered across the solar system, using Earth's superior knowledge of local space to hide among asteroid fields and within the atmospheres of gas giants. From these positions, they launched lightning-fast attacks against hegemony supply lines and support vessels. "They fight without honor," complained Zyrtec as reports of another ambush reached him. "They target our medical ships and refuse to meet us in direct combat." What the general couldn't understand was that humans had long ago abandoned the concept of fair fights in warfare. They used every advantage available. On the psychological front, humanity pressed another advantage. They began broadcasting footage of successful battles throughout the frequencies used by hegemony ships. Every defeated alien vessel, every successful defense was shared with the enemy forces. The morale effect was devastating. Species within the hegemony who had joined through coercion, rather than choice, began to question their allegiance. The Battle of Europa became the first major turning point. The hegemony committed a third of their fleet to attacking the human moon base there, expecting to crush resistance with overwhelming force. Instead, they found themselves caught in a carefully planned trap. Hidden human vessels emerged from the icy surface of the moon itself, where they had been burrowed for days. Relativistic weapons struck from multiple angles simultaneously, while EMP devices disabled hegemony communications. "Pull back," ordered Zyrtec as his flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. "Retreat and regroup." For the first time in living memory, a hegemony battle group was forced into full retreat. In the aftermath, the hegemony leaders gathered again, this time without their usual confidence. "These humans," Zyrtec began, his voice quieter now. "They do not fight like other species. They adapt our own technology against us," added Science Director Vilmore. "Each encounter, they improve." The senior ambassador, Kelforan, who had delivered the initial ultimatum to Earth, looked at the battle data with all 3 of his eyes wide. "Perhaps we have miscalculated," he admitted. These humans were not exaggerating their capabilities. As the hegemony leadership debated their next move, human forces pressed their advantage, pushing alien ships farther from Earth with each engagement. The warning had been clear: run. The hegemony had chosen not to listen. Now they were beginning to understand why. The Hegemony War Council removed General Zyrtec from command after the Europa defeat. In his place, they appointed General Zaxvorn, a veteran known throughout the galaxy for his ruthlessness in crushing the Centauri Rebellion 50 years earlier. "We will no longer underestimate these humans," Zaxvorn declared. His 4 arms crossed over his armored chest. "From this moment, we apply maximum force. No mercy, no prisoners." The new general's first action shocked even his own forces. He ordered a biological attack on the Neptune research outpost, releasing a genetically engineered virus designed to target carbon-based life forms. The hegemony had used this weapon only twice before, against particularly resistant species. The response from Earth came swiftly. All personnel at Neptune Station survive, reported Dr. Nicole Bennett to the hastily assembled Earth Defense Council. Our genetic engineering defenses worked perfectly. For decades, humans have been modifying their own immune systems to protect against potential alien pathogens. What the hegemony didn't know was that every human who traveled beyond Earth's atmosphere underwent extensive genetic enhancement. Secretary General Powell nodded grimly. The hegemony has escalated to biological warfare. We must respond accordingly. The United Nations formally dissolved all separate military branches, creating the United Defense Force, UDF. Admiral Wright was appointed Supreme Commander of this unified human military. We moved to Phase 2, she announced to her command staff. Captain Barnes, is the Defiance ready? Eric Barnes stood at attention. At 35, he was young for such an important command, but his tactical brilliance had earned him the position. Yes, Admiral. The prototype is fully operational. The Defiance was humanity's secret weapon. While most human ships relied on conventional propulsion enhanced with captured alien technology, the Defiance used an entirely new drive system based on gravity manipulation. It could move faster and more unpredictably than anything the hegemony had encountered. Captain Barnes led the first major offensive into hegemony territory, targeting their forward bases in the Kuiper Belt. The Defiance moved like a ghost, appearing and disappearing before enemy sensors could lock on. They can't track us, Barnes told his crew as they destroyed their fifth hegemony outpost. Keep pressing the advantage. Meanwhile, the hegemony grew increasingly desperate. General Zaxvorn ordered attacks on civilian colonies, hoping to force Earth to surrender by threatening non-military targets. The assault on Titan Colony might have succeeded if not for Lieutenant Olivia Chen. Her patrol ship, the Sentinel, was the only defense vessel in the area when 3 hegemony destroyers appeared. Evacuate the civilians, she ordered her crew. I'll buy you time. Despite overwhelming odds, Olivia maneuvered the Sentinel with incredible skill, drawing enemy fire while transport ships escaped the colony. When the last civilian vessel jumped to safety, the Sentinel was barely operational. Target their engine core, Olivia commanded. Full speed ahead. The Sentinel rammed the lead hegemony vessel at maximum velocity. The resulting explosion destroyed both ships and crippled a second hegemony destroyer. News of Olivia's sacrifice spread quickly through both human and hegemony forces. Human morale soared, while alien commanders grew increasingly concerned about humans' willingness to die for their cause. They do not fear death, Zaxvorn reported to the War Council. Our traditional intimidation tactics strengthen their resolve rather than weakening it. The council member from the Vorax species, a race of analytical thinkers, spoke up. Perhaps we should reconsider this conflict. The cost-benefit analysis no longer favors conquest. Zaxvorn silenced him with a gesture. Retreat is not an option. The hegemony has never abandoned a conquest, and we will not start now. But privately, many council members began to doubt. The humans were unlike any species they had encountered. They adapted too quickly, fought too fiercely, and seemed to grow stronger rather than weaker with each attack. For the first time, in 3,000 years, the Galactic hegemony faced the possibility of defeat. General Zaxvorn gathered his remaining forces for one massive assault on Earth's orbital defenses. Hundreds of hegemony warships jumped into position around Earth's moon, their weapons charged and targeting systems locked on the human space stations and defense platforms. Today we end this rebellion, Zaxvorn announced to his fleet commanders. The humans have surprised us with their technology and tactics, but they cannot match our numbers. We will overwhelm them. The hegemony fleet moved forward in perfect formation, energy weapons firing in coordinated salvos that lit up space with brilliant flashes of destructive power. Earth's orbital defenses returned fire, but seemed outmatched by the sheer volume of the assault. "Our primary defense ring is failing," Lieutenant Frank Cooper reported to Admiral Wright in the Underground Command Center. "Stations 4 through 7 have gone silent." Samantha Wright showed no concern. Instead, she checked her watch and nodded. "Right on schedule. Prepare to spring the trap." She opened a secure channel to Jupiter space. "Admiral Wright to Hidden Fleet. Execute Operation Typhoon." From within Jupiter's turbulent atmosphere, where they had been hiding for days, emerged 50 human battleships led by the Defiance. The gas giant's storms and radiation had perfectly concealed them from hegemony sensors. "Fleet has cleared Jupiter's gravity well," Captain Barnes reported from the Defiance's bridge. "All weapons systems online. We have clean shots at their rear positions." "Fire at will, Captain," ordered Admiral Wright. The human fleet struck the unsuspecting hegemony forces from behind. Caught between Earth's defense systems and the surprise attack, alien ships began to fall in alarming numbers. Zaxvorn roared in fury. How did they hide an entire fleet? The hegemony commander ordered his ships to land ground forces on Earth while the space battle raged. Thousands of alien troops descended toward major population centers. Major Paul Mitchell commanded Earth's ground defense forces from his mobile headquarters in the Austrian Alps. "All units engage according to Protocol Delta," he ordered. "Remember your training. These aren't invincible monsters, just soldiers like us." The hegemony ground forces found themselves fighting an enemy that knew the terrain intimately. Human soldiers used underground tunnel networks, dummy positions, and civilian-looking structures that concealed powerful weapons platforms. For every kilometer the aliens advanced, they paid in heavy casualties. In his laboratory beneath Geneva, Dr. Kevin Riley activated the quantum entanglement communication network his team had developed using reversed-engineered hegemony technology. Unlike conventional signals that could be intercepted or jammed, these communications were instantaneous and undetectable. "The QE network is online," he reported to Admiral Wright. "All Earth forces now have real-time secure communications." This technological advantage proved decisive. Human forces coordinated with perfect precision, while hegemony units struggled with communication delays and interference. In orbit, Captain Barnes executed a daring maneuver, taking the Defiance directly through the hegemony formation at speeds the aliens couldn't track. His ship's new weapons, gravity disruptors based on the drive system, tore holes in the fabric of space itself, shredding alien vessels without touching them. "Their flagship is exposed," Barnes reported, requesting permission to engage. "Granted," replied Admiral Wright. "End this." The Defiance turned toward Zaxvorn's command ship, accelerating to attack velocity. The hegemony vessel, 3 times larger than Barnes' ship, fired all weapons in desperation. Barnes smiled grimly as his ship absorbed the impacts. "Target their command center. Fire." The resulting explosion tore through the hegemony flagship, leaving it dead in space. Without central command, the alien forces fell into disarray. As the battle turned decisively in Earth's favor, an unexpected transmission reached Admiral Wright. It came not from the hegemony command, but from 3 separate alien vessels that had pulled away from the main fleet. "This is Ambassador Krell of the Tiburon Federation," came a voice unlike the hegemony leaders. "We wish to discuss terms for our withdrawal from this conflict." The Tiburon people no longer recognize hegemony authority. Similar messages followed from 2 other species within the hegemony coalition. The mighty alliance that had conquered 17 civilizations was beginning to fracture. For the first time, humanity pushed beyond defense into hegemony territory, capturing key outposts and strategic positions. The hunters had become the hunted. The galactic hegemony, once a unified force of 17 species, began to crumble from within. After the devastating defeat at Earth, 3 species had already broken away, seeking separate peace with humans. Now others began to question their loyalty as well. "The council chambers are in chaos," reported Kelforan, who had been elevated to Supreme Commander after Zaxforn's defeat. The Vexeri and Quillian representatives are demanding immediate withdrawal from human space. Izad, a lower-ranked member of his own species, clicked nervously. And the subject worlds, the ones conquered in previous campaigns. Reports of uprisings on 6 planets, Kelforan admitted. They've heard about the human success. They believe the hegemony can be defeated. This was the hegemony's greatest fear realized. For 3,000 years, they had maintained control through the myth of invincibility. Now that myth was shattered, Captain Andrea Wilson of Earth's diplomatic corps prepared for the most dangerous mission of her career. Her ship, disguised as a damaged hegemony transport, approached the alien capital world of Zenthar Prime. Final approach, her pilot announced. Their defense grid is accepting our identification codes. Andrea nodded tensely. Her team consisted of 12 specialist diplomats and soldiers, all genetically modified to appear similar to various hegemony species. The disguises wouldn't hold up to close inspection, but they only needed to reach the Planetary Council building. Remember, she told her team, our goal is to present the terms to as many council representatives as possible. We're not here to fight unless absolutely necessary. The plan was bold. Infiltrate the heart of hegemony power and offer direct alliance to the species most likely to rebel. Earth's intelligence had identified at least 5 members of the hegemony who had been forced into the coalition against their will. As Andrea's team made their way through the sprawling alien capital, signs of the hegemony's weakening grip were everywhere. Military units patrolled the streets in force. Public announcements declared that reports of human victories were false propaganda. Fear was palpable among the population. Back in human space, Admiral Wright coordinated the final assault on the remaining loyal hegemony fleet. The combined forces of Earth, Arcturus, and the newly allied former hegemony species surrounded the enemy's last stronghold. All ships in position, reported her tactical officer. The hegemony forces are contained within the Epsilon sector. Samantha studied the holographic display. Begin the attack. Remember, we want to minimize casualties where possible. Many of those ships may contain species who want to surrender. The battle was decisive but carefully executed. Human ships targeted propulsion and weapons systems rather than life support where possible. When hegemony vessels surrendered, they were quickly secured by specialized boarding teams. On Zenthar Prime, Andrea's mission faced its most dangerous moment. Her team had successfully infiltrated the council building and revealed themselves to selected representatives, but security forces had been alerted. We need to leave now, urged her security chief as alarms blared through the building. Andrea stood firm before the assembled alien representatives. You've seen our terms. Earth offers alliance, not subjugation. We believe in cooperation between species, not domination. Those who join us will have equal standing in the new galactic community. Laser fire erupted in the corridor outside. Make your choice quickly, Andrea told the stunned aliens. Your time under hegemony rule is ending, one way or another. 7 representatives stepped forward, indicating their acceptance of human terms. Together with Andrea's team, they fought their way to a secure communication center, broadcasting their decision to their homeworlds and military units. The effect was immediate. Across the hegemony, ships and planetary defense systems began powering down or turning against the central authority. The rebellion spread faster than Kelforan could contain it. In his command center, the Supreme Commander watched as his empire disintegrated around him. Reports flooded in of whole fleets changing allegiance, of planetary governments declaring independence, of ancient subject worlds rising up against their oppressors. After 3,000 years of unquestioned rule, the hegemony was falling apart in days. Kelforan made the only decision left of him. He opened a direct channel to Admiral Wright. This is Supreme Commander Kelforan of the Galactic Hegemony, he said, his 3 eyes downcast. I wish to discuss terms for unconditional surrender. The peace conference convened on the neutral colony of Proxima Centauri B, the first human settlement outside the solar system. Representatives from 23 species gathered in the great glass dome of Unity Hall. Some had been part of the hegemony, others had been conquered by it, and still others were newly discovered civilizations that had hidden from hegemony detection. Secretary General Diane Powell took her place at the center of the circular table. Despite the exhaustion of war, she carried herself with quiet dignity. "We gather today to establish a new framework for galactic cooperation," she began. "Humanity did not seek this conflict, but we are committed to ensuring a lasting peace emerges from it." Former Supreme Commander Kel Thorin sat across from her, his once proud posture now humbled. He had been chosen to represent the remaining loyal hegemony worlds in the negotiations. "The terms proposed by Earth are unprecedented," Powell continued. "We do not seek reparations or territory. We do not demand subjugation of former enemies. Instead, we propose the formation of a galactic council where all species have equal voice regardless of military strength or technological advancement." Murmurs spread through the assembled aliens. Such an arrangement was unlike anything in known galactic history. Previous conquests had always ended with new hierarchies, new masters replacing old ones. Colonel Jack Reynolds, who had delivered humanity's warning at the beginning of the war, now oversaw the practical aspects of peace. His team established demilitarized zones, monitored prisoner exchanges, and dismantled the most dangerous hegemony weapons. "The transition is proceeding smoothly in most sectors," Jack reported during the third day of negotiations. "Some resistance remains in the outer colonies, but nothing organized." While politicians negotiated, Dr. Kevin Riley led a different kind of revolution. His laboratory on Proxima Centauri b had become a meeting place for scientists from across the galaxy. "The technological exchange program is ready to implement," he announced to representatives from 15 species. "Humanity will share advancements in medicine, energy, and computing. In return, we hope to learn from your unique scientific perspectives." This approach shocked many former hegemony scientists who had been accustomed to technology being closely guarded and used for control. The idea of open scientific cooperation seemed naive to them, until they saw the rapid innovations that emerged from the first collaborative projects. The most surprising development came from the former hegemony subject worlds. Rather than seeking revenge against their former masters, many requested human assistance in establishing new governments. "Your species fought not for conquest, but for freedom," explained the representative from Tiburon. "We wish to learn this concept more fully." Admiral Samantha Wright found herself in the unexpected role of advisor to newly liberated worlds. Her experience coordinating Earth's decentralized defense now proved valuable in helping diverse species develop their own governance models. "Each civilization must find its own path," she told a group of planetary leaders. "Earth doesn't have all the answers, but we can share what we've learned through our own struggles." 6 months after the war's end, the new Galactic Council held its first formal session. Earth had deliberately declined a position of special authority, instead accepting the same single vote as each other member species. As the session concluded, Kel Thorin approached Admiral Wright in the corridor outside the council chamber. "I must confess something, Admiral," he said, his voice low. "When you warned us to run at our first meeting, I dismissed it as primitive bravado." Samantha studied the alien's face. "And now I understand what you truly meant. It wasn't a threat of destruction, but a warning about change." Kel Thorin's 3 eyes blinked slowly. "Your species doesn't seek to conquer, but you change everything you touch. The old hegemony could never have survived contact with humanity, regardless of who won the war." Samantha smiled slightly. "Change isn't always bad, Supreme Commander." "Former Supreme Commander," he corrected. "And yes, I'm beginning to see that." As they looked out at the stars through the station's viewport, hundreds of ships from dozens of worlds moved peacefully through space. Humanity had emerged as reluctant leaders of a new galactic order, not through force, but through the power of an idea: that freedom was stronger than fear, and cooperation more powerful than conquest. The galaxy would never be the same again, and that perhaps was exactly what humanity had been warning the hegemony about all along.